Hello and welcome into another video. So today we are going to talk a little bit about Butterfile system subvolumes. So what are these even good for and why would you want something like that? Scenario number one, you want to have different partitions on your hard drive because you want to make some of the partitions with no executable options or maybe some other permissions that are strictly related to entire partition, but you want to enable this on your home folder, or vice versa. Maybe you don't want your users to execute anything on your home folder, but you do want them to execute stuff in the regular system directories. This falls down upon you to decide what you want to do. But the trouble with this kind of setup is that if you have, let's say, 100 gigabyte hard drive, maybe that's small for today's mm, day and age, but let's pretend that the hard drive is 100 gigabytes. You will put maybe 20 gigabytes on the root file system and maybe 80 gigabytes on the home file system. And then one step at a time, the install applications amount is going to grow and it is going to fill up your root file system. Maybe the logs will eventually be quite large. Maybe something else will happen, and eventually you will want to grow your root file system because your users don't really store too much data, and you have given them way too much of a space on the home partition. So now you have to resize the home partition and resize the root partition. Um, yeah, you understand so far. Uh, how the subvolumes of Butterfly system can help you with this is that you will have only one partition, physical one. This one will be 100 gigabytes. And inside this partition, this physical partition, you will create two subvolumes. One subvolume will be root, and another subvolume will be slash home. Both of them will be a part of the same partition, and both of them will use up to 100 gigabytes um, when you add it up all together. So, for example, if the default install is 5 gigabytes without users putting their files just yet, then you will see that both the root file system and slash home file system are both filled up 5 gigabytes. If the first user puts a movie that is 10 gigabytes large, because it's, I don't know, a huge, how do you say it? I don't know, AV1 codec or maybe Blu-ray rip or something, then your both of your partitions, your stub volumes will report being filled 15 gigabytes. And this is how both of them are going to fill up together up until one point when your entire physical partition is completely filled up. But it still gives you the option to mount your different file systems with different mount options. So you keep best of both worlds. Another neat trick is snapshots of Butterfly system. If you would have only one partition, just root, and inside this root you also have your home folder for users and stuff like that, you might want to do Butterfly system snapshots, and these snapshots will take the entire partition into their work, right? They will take up more space than it might be needed, depending on what do you expect from your system. If you have two subvolumes, you can snapshot them individually. Maybe you don't care about the system partition at all, so you will snapshot only home. and maybe you only care about your system partitions, so you will only snapshot that, while the home folder might not be very relevant for you because you told your users to take care of their data. Either way, you have this flexibility. So from that perspective, it is um, a better way to have it with the subvolumes. Um, maybe maybe you will have, I don't know, safer upgrades. So you will configure a system that you are able to boot into one of your previous snapshots after the failed upgrade. This is not something that I would expect from Debian system, but you never know. And if you want extra security, extra safety of your system, you might want to use the a way to boot into the previous snapshots. So maybe it would be better if you can just boot into your previous system snapshot while not booting into the previous snapshot of your home files as well, because in this way you might be losing some of the files that your users have placed in there in the couple of last hours or days. So taking everything into consideration, I think this is a neat idea to do. However, Debian doesn't really support subvolumes through its installer. So I'm going to show you a very easy way how to detach a home folder from the root folder. And in my opinion, this is the easiest way possible to do with Debian 13 installer. So the first step will be just go through the entire Debian installer as you usually do and select the Butterfile system for the partition and don't tinker with it almost at all. I'm going to speed up the recording for the first part and slow down just when the time for partitioning comes. Here we go. The partitioning part is upon us. So for Butterfile system, you could go with the manual method and make sure to create your usual FE partition, swap if you need it, and of course uh, your main partition for the file system. So just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go with use entire disk. Let's go ahead and select my entire disk. All files in one partition. This is what you're going to select if you're not doing it manually. And the end result is going to be that you're getting your ESP partition, uh, your file system partition, the one that is going to host root, and the one for swap. As I said, feel free to reconfigure this to your likings. However, do press on the root partition and change it to Butterfile system. This part is important. Mount point will remain root. Mount options, go here and press do not update inode access times at each access and use the compress option. This is quite useful. It will save you some space on the hard drive. Label, bootable flag, none of this is important. Done setting up the partition, and now it says Butterfly system. Make sure that all three partitions have the flag F, which means they are going to be formatted. Let's finish the partitioning for now. Are we sure we wish to proceed? Absolutely yes. And now we are going to finish the rest of the installation. I'm going to speed it up again and slow it down after we boot up into our system for the first time. Then I'm going to show you how you will create a second subvolume. And I say second because it's not the entire truth that Debian doesn't support subvolumes. It actually um, creates a default subvolume for your root file system, as I said, by default, and it will give you a chance to easily create your home folder, your home file system subvolume afterwards. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We have booted into Debian 13 for the first time. Let's log in. I have intentionally left out the installation of the graphical user interface. However, I presume that you have installed it. So just press Ctrl Alt F3 and go into your terminal before you log in into your graphical user interface for the first time. You can do it later. It doesn't really change anything, but please don't be logged in as a user into the GUI while doing this, because we are going to be moving your entire home folder for this use case. So let's go ahead and see what is my IP address. So it is 99.235. And the reason why I want to see this is because I'm going to SSH into my new installation so I can blow up the fonts so you can see them better. So we said 235. Okay. Okay. There we go. I have increased the font just a little bit so you can see better what is going on here. The first thing we are going to do is find mount slash home. And we do want to check that it is not mounted anywhere. So it is just a folder inside its parent um, file system. So let's check that one. And with that one, you can already see, maybe the font is a bit too large for this to show. Yeah, it goes outside the screen, but it is what it is. Um, you can already see that we are using the sub volume called at root fs for the root file system. Let's zoom in back a little bit. Let's first mount the partition, the physical partition, which hosts our sub volumes. Okay, so mount dash o sub vol id equals 5. 5 means that you're mounting the top level Butterfile system. Then you will pick your partition, which is dev, which one is it? VDA2, VDA2, dev, VDA2. Yeah, that's what you're mounting. And let's mount it to the slash minute folder. And right now we can see that we have a VDA mounted on slash minute, but also it's mounted on slash. Don't get confused with this. This is a sub volume slash at root fs mounted, and this one is the main partition, the physical one. It can be a little bit confusing at the beginning, but there are tools which can explain what in particular is going on here. You can go back to find minute and press it on slash minute just to see where this is mounted, correct? So here you can see that this is dev VDA2 slash at root fs, and this is just dev VDA2. This is going to give you a hint on what exactly you have mounted here so you can better cope with what is going on. Let's go with cd-minute, and when we list the contents, here you're going to see only one uh, sub volume, which is going to be at root fs. So when you list the folder, that's what you see at root fs. If you list at root fs, you're going to see the contents of your actual root file system, which we currently do not care about. So let's go ahead and BTRF butter file system. subvolume create, and we're going to do it in mnt slash at home. There we go. Create subvolume, and let's list it here. We have listed it here. Okay, let's mount it for now. Mount dash o sub volume equals at home, comma, compress equals the no time dev VDA 2 MNT. Oops, I almost made a mistake. You need a folder where you're going to mount this in the beginning. So just scratch that for now and go with unmount slash minute because we no longer need the root file system. And now paste it back. Uh, so you can just mount it again on the same folder. It doesn't really matter because it's temporary. And list the slash minute. There will be nothing in there because it's basically a new file system. If you type df, you are going to see that minute is once again VDA2 and it's mounted on minute. And if we type the same command as previously, find mount slash minute, now it is saying that this is our slash at home subvolume. So now what you're going to do is just go ahead and move slash home and your only home folder that you have. If it's already filled up because you haven't been doing this on day one, it doesn't really matter. Just go ahead and take the entire folder and move it to slash minute, which is basically your home folder. And now if you check ls home, there is nothing in your home folder. This is fine. Now go ahead and unmount slash minute. Okay, and let's repeat the command from earlier. We are going to mount the subvolume slash home on the home file path. So there will be a command mount dash o subvolume equals at home, comma compress equals z std, comma no time slash dev vda2 and then slash home. So if you type list slash home again, and now you're going to see that our folder is now back. And the reason why our home folder is back is if you type the find mount command once again, not on that folder, sorry, I meant on slash home, you can now see that slash home is mounted on slash home, which is great. But now we need to reconfigure our fstab file. At the tab kitty not valid terminal. We can fix that. There we go. I am going to decrease the font size just once because I really need everything to fit on the screen so I can see what I'm doing. I hope the font is big enough for you to see. You can basically take the entire line that is mounting your root file system because the UUID of your partition is going to stay the same. However, you want to go ahead and type home here because you're going to mount the home partition here, and change this one to home, and also compress equals the here, compress equals the because by default Debian is going to use a different version of compression, which is a slightly bit slower. So I would recommend changing it to the and by changing I mean defining it here. So let's go ahead and press save with F3, and you can do the system control reload. Okay, sorry, the wrong one. Daemon. I may be blind. Did you mean daemon reload? Did. Now it's fine. Okay, typos happen. Let's go ahead and reboot the entire computer now, and let's switch to this screen so we can see how it is booting. Okay, it has booted back up. We are going to SSH back into it because the fonts in my SSH session are slightly bigger. BTRFS sub volume list. Ah, nope. We have to do sudo. Okay. So right now you can see that we have root file system and we have home file system. Find mount slash and slash home. Both of them are now mounted with the compression method that we wanted on the destinations that we wanted. If we type ls slash home, you're going to see that my folder is here. ls block is going to list everything under VDA2, which is our physical partition, which contains slash home and slash, both of them. Exactly, yeah. df is going to list all of our partitions here. So you can check VDA2 is slash filled up 5%, and this one is slash home, also filled up 5%. So this is basically everything that I wanted to show you on this topic. I hope you have enjoyed this little tutorial. There is slightly more complex method of doing this, and this involves booting the Debian installer in expert mode, running through the partitioner, then switching to a virtual terminal, and then manually creating all of the partitions that you need or want, which can include even partitions such as var and maybe temp and stuff like that. But since this is slightly more complex, I decided to go with an easier method because most of you will simply want to, um, how do I say it in English, um, separate the root file system from the home file system. And while using the butter file system on Debian 13, I think this is the easiest method yet. And thank you very much for watching this video. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and stuff like that. Maybe share my video on other channels where you think some people would find the use of a tutorial as easy as this one. I appreciate every single view that I can get. It motivates me a lot to create more of the useful content. And I'm going to see you in the next video. And once again, thank you very, very much for watching.